Miss Marvel was pretty good, but it reminds me that Disney is trying to have its cake and eat it too. Spirit Life! Hey, it's Bruce on Spirit Life, and I'm going to talk about Marvel's new property, Miss Marvel, that's airing on Disney Plus as a 6-episode series, just like Moon Knight. Now, if you're used to Moon Knight or even something like Loki, that had a much more dour taste, and even if something like Falcon and the Winter Soldier had a little bit more of a serious overtone, this show is a totally different tone. You're going to find a much more youthful and a much more pop and colorful experience. It reminds me a lot of Spider-Man Homecoming, just because of the young adult themes and some of the camera work, which was very good. I liked the angle where you're looking from inside the locker out. As far as production quality, I would say that Miss Marvel has really upped the game in terms of making it feel very well produced. It doesn't look like it's low budget, even though it's only a show and not a feature film that's in the theaters. That being said, you don't tune into Spirit Life just to hear me talk about the film quality. I'm here to talk about the spiritual elements, and we have to address the elephant in the room, Islam. Now, in the comics, Kamala Khan was a character whose family is from Pakistan, which means, of course, that they're Muslim. That's what it means to be from Pakistan, is to be Muslim. It's a Muslim country, with a few exceptions. I'll get to that in a moment. But by and large, I believe that Disney wants to portray itself as woke. It wants to simultaneously court the LGBT community, but at the same time show itself to be favorable towards the Muslim community. Those two don't mix. Disney can't have its cake and eat it too when it comes to these things because, yeah, here in America there are a lot of moderate Muslims. But you have to remember that even though here in America Islam is not a dominant religion, although it is growing, across the rest of the world it is a very dominant religion, if not the #1 religion. At least 1.5 billion Muslims across the globe. There are many regions where back-to-back-to-back countries are fully Muslim, not just that the majority of the people practice a certain religion, but that the government itself is an Islamic government, that the culture, the society, everything revolves around the religion of Islam. And that's for miles and miles and from one country to the next. Here in America, we like to think of the Muslim people as a marginalized group or a minority, and we're the king of trying to promote the minority and exalt the minority and try to preserve their rights and make sure nobody treads on them or puts them down or things like that. Now that can simultaneously be good and bad because on the one hand, yes, any minority group should be protected, and that should be for any country, not just in America. But at the same time, America very much overdoes that in favor of groups that already have all the same equal rights as everybody else, but are now heightened into some sort of a status symbol. It's almost like if you can claim any type of minority status, then that makes you a better person and more deserving of attention, and to the detriment of people that don't fit into that minority group. So how does that relate to Miss Marvel? Well, we see a Pakistani family who is Muslim, and they're portrayed in a really good light. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing's wrong with that. There are many, many Muslim families who are excellent people. They're great citizens, they are great people, they're kind, generous. I have actually been to the area of the world where Kamala Khan's family is from. And I would say, by and large, the hospitality outweighs anything you could ever imagine. I mean, truly, I had people that were like making me sleep on their bed and them sleep on a concrete floor because they want to show that much hospitality. People giving me their last meal because they don't have any other food, but I'm their guest and they want to give to their guest and show hospitality. This way blows Southern hospitality out of the water. I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. There's a lot of elements of the Middle East and other cultural elements of the Muslim people that I find really attractive. There's a sincerity. There's a real humility in a lot of the people. There's a real authenticity about their religious fervor. In other words, they take their religion seriously, whereas here in America, a lot of people who claim to be religious really aren't, and they don't take it seriously. They don't live by their tenets. Now here's the problem. Islam as a religion is a false religion and it's satanic. Now if you're a Muslim and you're watching this, I love you. I actually love you. I love every person. And not only just because I love everyone in a generic way, I love Muslim people. I don't love the religion of Islam. I hate that religion because it's a false religion, the same way I hate Buddhism or Hinduism or any other false religion, because those religions don't lead people to love and know their Creator, the one true God, Yahweh. Not Allah, not any other name, Yahweh, who is in human form Jesus. Now in Islam, of course, we can get into a much bigger discussion about this in some other video, but Islam does claim to acknowledge Jesus as a prophet at least, but they don't really know him and love him as the Son of Man, the Son of God, God in the flesh. And the only way to be right with our Creator is to accept the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross. The only way to be right with our Maker is to receive the punishment that we owed to him, but that Jesus took on the cross in our place. And so, as the show portrays Islam in such a favorable light, it's the same problem I have with everything else. When they portray LGBT in a favorable light, or when they portray theft and a life of crime in a favorable light. I don't like shows that exalt the mob life. I don't like shows that exalt any type of sin. Even the sins that everyone says, oh, everyone does that. That's not even a sin. Like fornication. I think that any time in media a sin is portrayed that especially makes it normalized or makes it seem even celebrated or something to be desired, that's a huge problem. When you get engrossed in something, when you get captivated by the characters and you're on their side, they're the protagonist, you're meant to root for them, and you do root for them, and they're good people and they're well-written characters, so you automatically feel an affinity towards them, but then those characters exhibit a lifestyle or a worldview that's anti-biblical, anti-Christian. That's a problem. We have to be careful about what we consume. If you're a Christian and you're watching this, just be mindful, of course, that every time you see a positive scene and a positive reference to Islam, that can accidentally make you a little more tolerant of Islam as a worldview or as a mentality or as a religion. The more Muslim friends you make, the more you see Islam portrayed positively in media, the more apt you are to think, well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's compatible with Christianity. Maybe we all worship the same God anyway. Maybe it's just different names for the same thing. And that leads you to Universalism, which is no longer Christianity and is no longer saving and has no power to actually reconcile us to God. So, Marvel wants to have its cake and eat it too. It wants to simultaneously court the LGBT community, but also court who they consider to be a minority group here in America, the Muslim community. Those two don't mix, by the way. Now, as much as I praise the Muslim people and the Middle Eastern culture, when you try to mix LGBT with that area of the world, you're going to find some really atrocious human rights violations. I believe that homosexuality is a sin, just like heterosexual sex outside of marriage, or just like a number of other things that God prohibits. I'm not down on the people. I don't think, oh, those people are just horrible. But then again, I don't define those people by their sexuality anyway. I define people as how God created us to be. People, not just defined by our sexual preference. But I'm telling you this, even though I consider it a sin, I have friends who are going to consider themselves in the LGBT community. They identify as gay or homosexual. And I think that they would say, I don't judge them and look down on them as if I'm better than them or anything like that. God knows I deserve hell. I believe that I deserve hell, and not just because I have low self-esteem. It's because I know I have sinned greatly. I have broken the things that God's told me to do. I've done things I shouldn't do, and I haven't done the good things that I know I should have done. I don't judge anybody as if I am in a position to evaluate them and say, you're a bad person or anything like that. But I am called to point out dangers and to warn people of a lifestyle that's not correct or that could lead to destruction. And God does judge the sin of homosexuality the same as He judges adultery or any other number of sins. One such sin that God judges is what the Muslim people in the Middle East do to homosexuals. They drag them behind trucks, they stone them with rocks, they toss them off of the top of skyscrapers, and they murder them ruthlessly. And so Disney is just playing its hand here and showing that it's a real hypocrite. They've already shown that in the Marvel universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there are multiple afterlives. That's not congruent with Islam. Islam has a very defined afterlife, and it's only for Muslims who are faithful to the faith. And they're not congruent with things like the astral plane or the ancestral plane from Black Panther, or from the Egyptian afterlife that Moon Knight just showed to us. Disney wants to appear woke, and yet they reduced the size of John Boyega's character in Star Wars when they presented the material for China. In fact, they want to cater to China, they want to pander to China, and yet they have nothing to say about the Uyghurs and the atrocities that China is committing against the Muslim people that are part of their concentration camps. Disney is just a big fat hypocrite. I have to say that. Now hey, I'm still consuming a lot of their media, particularly Marvel. I really wish Marvel had not been bought by Disney. They could have kept a little different tone, and I think they wouldn't have been so forced into that woke category. Now look, I have no problem with showing Kamala Khan and showing a Muslim family, especially in a positive light. And that's because there are a lot of Muslims who are great people, like I said. But if the show really wanted to take a risk, if it really wanted to get kind of controversial and say something and really make a statement, they could have had a little bit of that extreme Islam mixed in. Maybe Kamala has to overcome this temptation to be part of her family, but her family could have had roots in radical Islam. By the way, when I say radical, I'm not talking about a minority of people here. Hundreds of thousands of people in the world are what we would call radical Muslim, meaning they are for terrorism, they support the destruction of the West, and they have a totally different worldview than what we have in our liberal West mindset. Disney could have gone there and tried to confront that type of mentality along with this American superhero mentality, who Kamala Khan has kind of idolized in the figure of Miss Marvel, or Captain Marvel, I should say. But of course, they took the safe route. I mean, even Lost, which had such a convoluted plot and really lost me after so many seasons, at least had the character of Saeed, who had to wrestle with his background as a Muslim from Iraq in a post 9/11 world, and that had some interesting characteristics to it. I'm worried that Miss Marvel is just going to play it too safe to really bring in anything super interesting. And of course, I'm still going to give the show a chance. We could find out how she works into the greater Marvel universe and how she might overlap with some of the other characters that we've already seen on the big screen. But for now, it was a fun and okay show to watch. It's not like my new favorite or anything. But again, I just have to point out that this positive portrayal of Islam is problematic, because Islam is a false religion that does not lead to salvation. Only Jesus can lead you to get saved. If you don't know Jesus, here's your opportunity to know him right now. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you'd like to pursue a relationship with the Lord. And hey, hit me up in the comments if you think I'm just totally out of my mind and I'm just one of these haters that don't know any better, blah, blah, blah. If you're Muslim, I'm sure you're already typing some comments right now. Just know this, I don't hate you, I have nothing but love for you. You disagree with my religion and you think my religion is false, I think your religion is false. That's where we stand. Let's not make any bones about it, and let's not dance around the issue. We can debate the merits of the different philosophies and the religious beliefs if you'd like to do that in the comments too. If you found any value in this video, hit the subscribe button. I'd love to stick around for episode 2 and 3 and beyond for the reviews. This is Bruce on Spirit Life.